There is a shift happening right now that most people cannot see, but you feel it deep in your spirit. It's not random, it's not imagination, it's not wishful thinking. It is a divine repositioning, and here's the part that might shock you. You were never meant to struggle forever. You were never meant to beg for crumbs, explain your worth, or shrink yourself to make others comfortable. The delays, the setbacks, the sudden losses, the seasons where it felt like everything was taken from you at once. Those weren't punishments, they were preparation. And if you're still listening, it's because this message is not for everyone. It's for the chosen ones who are about to be lifted into an entirely new wealth realm, financially, spiritually, and energetically. You've probably noticed that your life never followed a normal pattern. While others seem to move effortlessly through milestones, you had to fight for everything. You worked harder, loved deeper, believed longer, yet somehow you were always the one misunderstood, the one people turned on without warning, the one whose kindness was tested, whose loyalty was exploited, whose patience was pushed past human limits. And at some point, you wondered if you were doing something wrong, if maybe God had skipped your name. But the truth is far more unsettling and far more powerful. You were set apart, and separation always comes before elevation. Think back to the betrayals that still sting when you remember them, the people who smiled in your face but secretly hoped you would fail, the friends who disappeared the moment your light began to outshine their comfort zone, the family members who questioned your vision because it didn't match their limitations. Those moments rewired you, they humbled you, they broke something in you, but they also awakened something ancient and unshakable. You learned how to survive storms alone. You learned how to pray without applause. You learned how to keep moving even when no one clapped, no one believed, and no one came to save you. And heaven noticed every single time. You didn't just experience pain, you carried it with dignity. You didn't just lose things, you lost versions of yourself that were too naive for where God was taking you. And yes, there were nights when you cried quietly, questioning why life felt so heavy, why money slipped through your fingers no matter how hard you tried, why opportunities seemed to close just as you reached for them. But here's the part no one told you. Restriction is often a divine pause before overflow. God will not pour new wealth into an old identity, and He will not elevate you while your heart is still attached to people who can't survive where you're headed. That's why the isolation hit so hard. That's why relationships fell apart unexpectedly. That's why familiar doors suddenly closed without explanation. You weren't being rejected, you were being rescued. Rescued from settling, rescued from contamination, rescued from alliances that would have limited your future. And in those quiet, uncomfortable seasons where it felt like nothing was happening, something extraordinary was being built within you. Discernment, discipline, and spiritual authority. These are not qualities formed in comfort. They are forged through loss. If you're honest with yourself, you already sense that something big is approaching. The way your dreams have intensified. The way old fears no longer grip you like they used to. The way you're less interested in proving yourself and more focused on alignment. That's not accidental. That's your spirit responding to a divine summons. You are being repositioned out of survival mode and into stewardship, out of barely enough and into surplus with purpose. God is not just about to bless you. He's about to trust you with wealth, influence, and impact that would have destroyed a previous version of you. But before the elevation comes the revealing. You had to see who would clap for you only when you were down. You had to watch who celebrated your struggle but envied your potential. You needed to feel the loneliness of walking alone, so that when abundance arrives, you won't confuse access with loyalty. That pain taught you wisdom money cannot buy. It trained your spirit to recognize manipulation, jealousy, and hidden agendas. That's why not everyone is allowed into the next chapter. This next realm requires emotional maturity, spiritual grounding, and a heart that won't turn bitter once the balance changes. Deep down, you know you didn't endure all of that just to stay stuck. You didn't survive near misses, emotional betrayals, financial droughts, and internal wars just to plateau. There is a transfer coming of resources, of authority, of visibility, and it won't look like what you imagined. It will feel sudden to others, but to you, it will feel overdue. People will say you're lucky, not realizing you paid in tears, silence, and resilience. They won't know about the moments you almost gave up, or how close you came to walking away from your calling entirely. And here's what makes this moment sacred. God saw everything, every insult you swallowed, every time you chose integrity over shortcuts, every time you gave when you barely had enough, every time you stayed pure in a corrupt environment. Nothing was wasted. Nothing slipped through the cracks. The delay was strategic. The pressure was intentional. The stripping was necessary, because where you are being lifted to, character matters more than charisma, and alignment matters more than ambition. So if lately it feels like the ground beneath you is shifting, like your old motivations no longer satisfy, like certain people are being exposed without you saying a word, that's not chaos. That's divine order rearranging your life. You are stepping into a season where provision flows differently, where favor speaks louder than effort, where opportunities find you instead of you chasing them. And yes, some people who doubted you will be forced to watch from a distance. Not because you seek revenge, but because God's elevation creates natural separation. Right now, your only assignment is to stay grounded, stay grateful, stay obedient. Don't rush what God is unfolding. The chosen ones always rise quietly first, and then all at once. And this next chapter won't just change your bank account, it will change your confidence, your boundaries, and the way you see yourself forever. When you're ready, we'll continue. Just say the word. There's something you need to understand about the battles you've faced. They were never random, and they were never equal. You weren't fighting ordinary resistance. You were fighting opposition that sensed what you were carrying long before you did. That's why the pressure felt disproportionate to the moment. That's why storms came in clusters instead of one at a time. That's why as soon as you resolved one issue, another appeared out of nowhere. You weren't being attacked because you were weak. You were being targeted because you were dangerous in the spiritual sense. You had seasons where it felt like life was a continual uphill climb, like you were pushing against invisible hands determined to wear you down. Financial strain that appeared right when you were stepping into clarity. Emotional exhaustion that crept in after you chose forgiveness. Sudden conflicts that erupted the moment you decided to change, heal, or elevate. This is how spiritual warfare shows up in the physical world. Not as demons with horns, but as distractions, delays, discouragement, and doubt. And yet, you're still here. Scarred maybe, tired at times, but undefeated. You don't give yourself enough credit for what you survived quietly. You navigated environments where you were underestimated on purpose. You endured spaces where your growth made others uncomfortable, so they tried to shrink you with criticism, silence, or subtle sabotage. And still, you didn't retaliate the way you could have. You didn't collapse into resentment. You didn't abandon your values just to win short-term victories. That restraint wasn't weakness, it was training. God was teaching you how to hold power without becoming corrupted by it. Some of your greatest battles weren't external at all. They were internal wars no one saw. Moments when fear whispered that you should play it safe. When comparison tried to convince you that you were behind. When exhaustion told you to quit. When disappointment tempted you to lower your standards just to feel relief. But each time, something inside you refused to surrender. Even when you didn't have language for it, your spirit knew this wasn't the end of your story. That quiet persistence is proof of your true strength. And here's the part many people miss. God was observing how you handled opposition, not just whether you survived it, but how you carried yourself in the middle of it. Did you stay humble when you could have become bitter? Did you remain generous when resources were tight? Did you stay honest when shortcuts were available? Every moment was a test, not to disqualify you, but to qualify you for what's coming next. Wealth in the wrong hands becomes a curse. Authority without wisdom becomes destruction, so you had to be refined. Meanwhile, the same people who doubted you thought the battle was already over. Some assumed you were finished. Others quietly celebrated what they believed was your downfall. They misinterpreted your silence as defeat. They mistook your patience for weakness. They didn't realize that while you were being pressured in private, heaven was reinforcing you in the unseen. While they were watching appearances, God was shaping substance, and now the tables are shifting. Your adversaries feel it before they can explain it. That's why the energy around you has changed. That's why people who once ignored you suddenly resurface. That's why some individuals seem restless, defensive, or oddly intimidated by your presence. Even when you haven't said a word, they sense your ascent. The same ones who laughed, doubted, or tried to outpace you now feel exposed. Not because you seek revenge, but because God is removing masks. Light has a way of making shadows uncomfortable. And understand this clearly. God has seen everything. He saw the manipulation, the lies, the subtle attempts to block your progress, the credit others took for your work, the prayers you whispered with tears rolling down your face when life felt unbearably unfair. Nothing escaped divine notice. Not one moment of injustice went unrecorded. You didn't have to fight every battle because some wars were never yours to fight. Justice delayed is not justice denied, it's justice amplified. What's happening now is a spiritual momentum shift. Where effort once felt heavy, favor is beginning to replace strain. Where doors once resisted your push, they are starting to open with far less force. This isn't coincidence. This is alignment. You are moving from being tested to being trusted, from being resisted to being recognized. And when this transition completes, it won't just change your circumstances, it will change how people relate to you entirely. Those who once felt superior will grow strangely quiet. Those who dismissed you will study you from a distance. And some will attempt reconciliation, not because they've transformed, but because they sense your value increasing. This is where discernment matters more than emotion. Everyone who returns does not deserve access. Everyone who apologizes is not entitled to closeness. God is sharpening your intuition for a reason. Wealth without boundaries attracts parasites, but you're learning discernment the hard way, so you don't have to lose what you're about to gain. You also need to know this: your rise does not require you to prove anything. You don't need to explain your journey. You don't need to justify your blessings. The same God who allowed the battlefield is now orchestrating the breakthrough. And when elevation comes, it will silence arguments you never engaged in. Your life itself will become the statement. Not loud, not arrogant, just undeniably solid. Right now, something inside you is stabilizing. Your reactions are calmer. Your vision is clearer. You're less impulsive, more intentional. That's not age. It's wisdom earned through trial. You are no longer fighting to be seen. You're preparing to be responsible for what happens when you are. That's the mindset shift that precedes authentic abundance. And make no mistake, your enemies are trembling. Not because you've threatened them, but because the season that protected their illusions is ending. Exposure doesn't always come through confrontation. Sometimes it comes through contrast. When God elevates you without you changing your heart, it reveals who was only comfortable with you when you were struggling. Take a breath here. Let this settle. What you survived did not break you. It branded you. It marked you as someone who can carry weight without collapsing. And that's why the next realm isn't just about money. It's about stewardship, responsibility, and influence that lasts. We'll keep going when you're ready. All right, let's go deeper now, because this part requires clarity, not just emotion. The attacks you've faced were never about who you pretended to be on the surface. They were about who you are underneath, your essence, your potential, your assignment. Long before results showed up in your reality, Something about your energy disrupted people. You didn't even have to speak much. Your presence alone exposed insecurities, limitations, and unhealed wounds in others. And when people are forced to confront what they've been avoiding within themselves, they often choose projection over introspection. That's where the conflict really began. You see, there's a paradoxical law at work. In the spiritual and psychological realm, those destined to rise often encounter resistance before evidence appears. People don't attack what they consider insignificant. They attack what threatens their sense of superiority, relevance, or control. Your attacks were early warnings, not signs of failure. They were proof that something in you was already active, already radiating long before external success arrived. This is why some individuals tried to confuse you instead of confronting you directly. They questioned your motives, minimized your ideas, labeled you as too much, or paradoxically, not enough. That contradiction alone should have been your confirmation. When people cannot categorize you, they attempt to destabilize you. When they cannot dominate you, they try to discredit you. And when they cannot control you, they switch strategies and try to drain you emotionally. Psychologically, this usually comes from those who are painfully aware, consciously or unconsciously, that they abandoned their own calling. Your courage became a mirror they didn't ask for but couldn't avoid. So instead of doing the inner work, they tried to slow you down, hoping that if you stayed small, they wouldn't have to face their own regret. None of this was personal, even though it felt deeply personal. It was structural, it was spiritual, it was inevitable. Another paradox you lived through is this: the purer your intentions, the harsher the resistance. People assume darkness attracts attack, but often it's light that provokes the strongest backlash. Light reveals truth without permission. Your honesty disrupted lies. Your integrity irritated opportunism. Your growth unsettled stagnation. And instead of being inspired, some chose hostility. That's why kindness didn't always protect you. That's why silence didn't always keep peace. You were dealing with people who weren't reacting to you. They were reacting to exposure. Over time, you may have noticed a pattern. The more you healed, the more certain people became uncomfortable. The more boundaries you established, the more accusations appeared. When you stopped over-explaining, others claimed you were distant. When you stopped rescuing everyone, they called you selfish. This is a common reaction when someone exits a role that others benefited from. You weren't just healing, you were disrupting the ecosystem that thrived on your self-neglect. Here's where the analysis gets important. You were targeted because your soul carries leadership energy. Even if you never asked for the role, even if you avoided attention, leadership isn't about dominance, it's about gravity. And people with gravity pull things into alignment simply by existing. That's why you couldn't conform fully, no matter how hard you tried. Your soul rejects cages. It always has. This is also why wealth is coming to you differently than it comes to others. For many people, money amplifies ego. For you, wealth is meant to amplify impact. God couldn't release it earlier because you were still learning discernment. You were still emotionally entangled with outcomes that required neutrality. You were still surrounded by people who would have confused access with entitlement. Delay wasn't denial, it was protection. Psychologically speaking, your journey forced you to develop a rare combination: empathy without naivete, confidence without arrogance, authority without cruelty. Most people only develop one or two of these. You were pressed into integrating all of them. That kind of internal balance is necessary when influence expands, because influence multiplies consequences. Every decision will matter more, every word will carry further. You had to be grounded before you could be elevated. And now your soul mission is beginning to surface more clearly. You're not here just to escape lack. You're here to break cycles. Cycles of scarcity, cycles of emotional dependency, cycles of generational limitation. Your success isn't just personal, it's instructional. It shows others what's possible when alignment replaces fear. This is why your life has felt heavier than average. You're carrying more than just your own story. Many of the attacks you faced were actually attempts to pull you off mission. Emotional distractions, draining conversations, manufactured crises. If you were constantly reacting, you couldn't focus. If you were constantly doubting, you couldn't build. The enemy of purpose doesn't always show up as destruction. It often shows up as delay through distraction. And when that didn't work, isolation followed. But isolation refined you instead of breaking you. Now look at yourself. You move differently. You listen more than you speak. You pause before reacting. You choose alignment over approval. That's not accident, that's evolution. You are no longer accessible to chaos the way you once were, and this is crucial because the next realm you're stepping into demands internal stability. Wealth amplifies who you already are. It doesn't fix identity fractures, and because you did the work early, you won't self-sabotage later. Your mission requires sustainability, not just success. Longevity, not just breakthrough. And that's why your journey unfolded the way it did. Others took shortcuts and burned out. Others gained quickly and lost faster. You were trained patiently, even painfully, because your assignment extends further than a single peak moment. So when you reflect on the attacks now, see them clearly. They didn't mean you were cursed. They meant you were coded for something bigger. They weren't signs to quit. They were confirmation to anchor deeper. And most importantly, they weren't meant to stop you. They were meant to shape you into someone who could carry abundance without losing themselves. You're not just rising financially. You're rising in clarity, sovereignty, and self-trust. And the closer you get to alignment, the less resistance can follow you. What once chased you can no longer reach you. Take this in slowly. The final part is coming, and it will land gently, the way truth always does when you're ready for it. Top of form, bottom of form. Take a moment here. Breathe. Let everything you've just absorbed settle into your nervous system, because this final stretch isn't about intensity. It's about anchoring. It's about standing firmly in who you are without needing noise, urgency, or proof. After everything you've walked through, one truth remains undeniable. You have never been ordinary, and you were never meant to be. You are a chosen one, not because life was easy, but because you stayed aligned when it wasn't. Your path shaped you into someone who can hold both faith and practicality, both vision and restraint. You no longer chase validation from people who couldn't see you clearly. You no longer explain your boundaries, your growth, or your standards. You've learned that peace is a form of wealth, and it is the first wealth God entrusts you with before releasing anything external. That inner stillness you feel now, even amid uncertainty, is confirmation that you are no longer in survival mode. You are in transition. What's ahead of you doesn't require struggle the way the past did. Provision will come through alignment rather than exhaustion. Opportunities will arrive through recognition rather than force. The same hands that once resisted you will quietly step aside, not because they suddenly understand your value, but because the season that allowed them access is over, and you won't need to announce it. Your life will reflect it naturally. This new wealth realm you're moving into will feel different from what you imagined. It won't just be numbers increasing. It will be choice expanding, choice in how you spend your time, choice in who has access to your energy, choice in how generously you can give without depleting yourself. And with that expansion comes discernment. You will be selective, not out of fear, but out of wisdom. You will protect what God has built within you because you know how long it took to heal, rebuild, and realign. There will be moments when old memories surface, times when you briefly remember how unsure, tired, or overlooked you once felt. Those moments won't pull you backward. They'll remind you how far you've come. You won't resent your past anymore. You'll respect it. Every delay sharpened you. Every disappointment redirected you. Every closed door quietly saved you from something you weren't meant to carry into this next chapter. And if a part of you still wonders, what if this is too good to be true? That's not doubt. That's humility. Let it exist without letting it lead. Faith doesn't mean the absence of questions. It means choosing alignment, even while the answers are still unfolding. God doesn't elevate overnight what He intends to sustain long-term. The pace of your breakthrough will match the stability of your foundation, and that's why you're not rushing anymore. You trust the process now because you understand it. As you move forward, remember this spiritually grounding truth. You do not need to convince anyone of who you are. Those assigned to support you will recognize it instinctively. Those meant to learn from a distance will observe quietly. And those who once misunderstood you may never fully grasp your journey, and that's okay. Their awareness was never a requirement for your elevation. If you feel called, take a moment to acknowledge this transition intentionally. You don't need elaborate rituals or loud declarations. A simple, grounded intention is enough. A quiet decision to move with integrity, wisdom, and gratitude as abundance increases. And if this message resonates with you, let that alignment deepen. Whether that means staying present with it, sharing it with others who might need confirmation, or simply keeping your heart open as the next doors begin to open naturally. You've done enough proving, enough surviving, enough carrying weight alone. This season is about receiving without guilt and building without fear. Trust that what's coming has been calibrated specifically for you, not just to bless you, but to bless through you. Stay grounded, stay observant, stay aligned. And as you step forward, do so calmly, confidently, and without announcement. The chosen ones never need noise to be known. We'll meet again right when the message is needed.